5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane's Full Course Yellow. It's Wednesday night, our regular weekly get-together, where we talk all things motorsport live. If you're watching for the first time, it's a very casual sort of thing. We'd love you to take part in it. If you've got any questions, any comments, just whack them up on the In Pit Lane YouTube page in the chat section, or on the Facebook page, if that's indeed where you're watching us from. We're down on crew tonight because everybody's either up in Bathurst or about to head to Bathurst or wherever, something to do with Bathurst, because of course this weekend is the Bathurst 12-hour, the greater race. We'll be giving a preview of that in just a moment. But joining me, people who aren't, a couple of people who aren't going to Bathurst, well, I don't think they're going to Bathurst, is of course Chris Ritchie and Mark Jones. And guys, how are we?
Kind of disappointed now that you put it like that we're not going to Bathurst.
That is the problem, isn't it? I thought today, it's like, I really can't afford this. I really, it's been a few years since I've been, and it's like, I can't afford the money. I can't afford the time, but it is really FOMO stuff. It's really fear of missing. It's like, I don't want to miss another one. And even though it's a really good field. I mean, in terms of drivers, and we'll talk about this later. In terms of drivers, it's a fantastic entry. But we have lost a few. We have lost a few cars because of different international problems, and also we don't have the variety that we would like. There's no Ferraris, there's no Aston Martins, certainly no Bentleys anywhere now, no Nissans. It's pretty much sort of Audi, Mercedes, Porsche, and of course the Invitational on BMW with Team WRT. Who'll probably start, and certainly the crowd favourite with Valentino Rossi back again for a second go at the mountain again. He was very, very popular last year, apparently. Doc was up there, Roy was up there, and they said that he was very popular, and two, everybody who had anything to do with him said he was fantastic, that he was he was absolutely thrilled to be there. And he was very accessible and very pleasant. So I don't know whether we'll get the chance to catch up with him. I'm heading up there first thing in the morning. I'm diving out of here at about probably a bit before 6 a.m. and heading out to because of my shoulder. I can't drive up. So the thing is, if I drove up, it's probably quicker for me to drive up than with all of the rigmarole I'm going through with planes, trains, and automobiles. But we will see what we will see, and with any luck, I mean, sometime late afternoon tomorrow, I'll get into Bathurst, and by this time tomorrow night, I'll be sitting in a very, very cheap hotel room, fighting giant cockroaches and being very bored. Apart from that, waiting for the real excitement to start the next day, Friday, when we go around to the head round to the track. But anyway, we'll say hello to. Say hello to the team again who are watching. Box is with us again. Evening, Box. Mad Cow Mark is with us once again. Good evening to Mark as well. And also Michael is with us. Michael Hassel Helsel is with us again as well. So good evening to you. If you're watching and you want to say hello and let us know you're out there and let us know you're breathing. The way we know you're alive, that's the way we know we're alive. So anyway, let's do that. Okay, so let's start with the Bathurst 12-hour. Mark, looking on from afar, I mean, you're a very keen sports car fan and aficionado and student of the game. Having a look at the entry list that you've seen, what do you think of it all? It's not the biggest field that we've had, but still plenty of forward.
No, but it's there's certainly lots of. I'm just scrolling through the list while we're talking, and there's certainly plenty of like there's some very well equipped Audis, for example. The very good people at Melbourne Performance Centre taking the usual squadron of R8s up the hill, and there's. If you pardon me, that was terrible. all the usual Porsches and BMWs, and of course there's the odd Lamborghini Huracan
Yeah,
here
we
and
got
there and everywhere.
we do have the one Lamborghini running, but yeah, there are some interesting lineups. I mean, it's interesting
Hmm.
Audi start. I mean, with Audi sort of pulling back, their international motorsport involvement at the moment. There's still plenty of talent in some of those Audis. I mean, we've got the
Hmm.
number two car. You've got Brad Schumacher, Marcus Winkelhock, and Riccardo Fella. So there's that's a pretty impressive lineup for a start. You've
Well, look at
also
Liam Talbot's co-drivers, Kevin van der Linde and Christopher Haas.
us. Well, it's interesting because they're doing exactly what Kenny Habul did last year, if you remember. Well, because
Hmm.
Kenny's done it the last couple of years, but he sort of found the loophole by if you enter as a pro, even though he's eligible to enter as a pro am. If you
Yes.
enter the pro car, you don't have to have the minimum driving time for your so-called gentleman driver. And
Yes.
that's what they did last year. Is Kenny got in, started the race, went out, and did a very good job, very capable driver, but basically did a good stint, and then basically handed it over to the pros to bring it home for the rest of the race. And that's what the team of Liam Talbot, Chris Haas, and Kelvin van der Linde are going to do as well, because they sort of said, yeah, that's a good idea. So, and once again, Liam Talbot is no slouch, behind the
Yeah.
wheel of a car. So that'll be interesting. That's the number 22 Audi. We've also got a few supercar drivers have popped in. We've got Jack LeBrock is racing one of the Mercedes, one of the Pro Am Mercedes, with Garth Walden and Justin McMillan and Glenn Wood. We've also got the team of Jamie Whincup, Jordan Love, and Prince
Oh,
Jeffrey
yes.
Abrams, straight from their success. Two races at the final round of the Asian Le Mans Series on the weekend, and they've raced back over here, and we'll race the Triple Eight Mercedes up at the mountain again. So they'd have to be considered, something of a chance with that lineup and doing really really well. So we've also got Dave Reynolds in one of the Mercedes. Now it's interesting that Dave's been added to the global list of Mercedes professional drivers,
Oh.
and it's come out today that it was in fact Maro Engel who was pretty much responsible for that. He apparently put the hard word on Mercedes and said, you really should, this guy is really good, and you really should, we're racing with him at Bathurst. You should give him some other opportunities as well. So, don't know what will happen, but potentially Dave Reynolds will have some racing opportunities with various Mercedes GT3 drivers around the world.
Well, that would be sensational for him if he could pull that off. Of course, there's also another Mercedes, the 222 car, that's also got quite the stellar lineup there in Cam Waters and Tom Randall, along with some guy called Lowndes who might have done a thing or two.
Yeah, they call him the kid. Obviously, a young guy. They call him the kid
Yeah.
apparently, and apparently they reckon he's got a bit of potential. So we'll keep an eye out on him. But yeah, as you say, I mean, the Mercedes, and you've got the two Ford Tickford factory drivers there in Cam and Tom, and then Lownsy with all his experience as well. So that'll be a very very good team as well. You've also got another Mercedes in the Triple Eight car, which is uh, basically Brock Feeney co-driving with
Yeah.
the guy who's replaced him, and
Yes, Will Brandt, yeah,
or well, not
and
replace
Michael
him, but
Grenier.
he's come into the team. So that's a very
Yeah.
strong. A very strong, and then right down the bottom, car
Well,
number appropriately enough, car number 912. Lawrence Van Thor, Ian Can Guven, and a guy called Matt Campbell, who I believe won a little race in America just recently. So he's coming off a bit of
yeah,
form.
indeed he is. That was quite the performance from the Porsche Penske lineup over at the Daytona 24 Hour, and Matt was certainly, if not the best driver. He didn't set the fastest lap in the car, but one of the little stats that came out of the Daytona 24 Hours, they compared the average lap time for every driver in the field, and Matt was number 2 in the entire field. He was the second fastest driver on average out of everybody, and I forget who the fastest was. I think it was one of the Cadillac drivers. Might be Tom Blom, but
yeah, I'm not
yeah,
sure.
I can't remember specifically.
I
But
know
nonetheless,
Pippo
Matt was the
Durrani
best of
was
the.
very quick, but
Mm,
yeah, I think the other thing that victory did has put to bed, but it's also shown, the idea that GT drivers, that you've got to have. There was a belief that to race at the top level of prototypes, you probably had to come from sort of from an open wheel background and a strong open wheel tradition, because these things are full on proper racing cars with a lot of downforce and all the rest of it. But if you have a look at people like Matt and Nick Tandy and a few others that are running in that category, both at the IMSA level and the World Endurance Championship, then
Alessandro
that's
Paguidi?
yeah, they put that well and truly to bed now. I mean, they've done that. They've done a really great job. So yeah, so Matt, of course, very competitive, up with lots of experience now up at the mountain. So they will be a very, very hard team to beat, along with the WRT guys. Interesting thing is, if you're watching from home, this year for the first time, Friday will be streamed live on 7 Plus on the streaming service, I believe. So if you've got a smart TV or an Apple TV or something, some sort of TV that you can plug into the internet, then just download the 7 Plus app, and I think you've just got to do a bit of basic signing in, and once you've done that, you've got access to not just to those races, but also the all the other motorsport that they're going to have on that service as well, including the drag racing. They've got the National Drag Racing Championships. They had the Funny Car Championship was there just recently, and we've got another round of Top Fuel coming up in a fairly soon, I think, from Western Australia. So, and that's always live. The Shannon's Speed Series, we had the first round of that on the weekend, and more about that in a second. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, Chris, will you be watching on the weekend at some stage?
I won't be watching anything on the weekend because I'm going in for eye surgery.
Oh dear, that's no good. You've had a really bad run with that. So yeah, you may not see anything. So what's the what is it? Is it the cataracts or the?
Yes, 2 cataracts, 1 each eye.
Yes. I'm not scheduled. I'll schedule one because I've got one where they just said, yeah, look, you don't have to worry about it too much now, but it's on its way.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, good luck with that. So, but yeah, you'll have you won't be seeing much at all. You will be able to listen, however. Just remember, if you're not somewhere where you don't have access to a smart TV, if you've got access to the internet anywhere, just go to the Radio Le Mans website, and they're doing they're bringing through the live stream. The benefit of doing that as well is when Seven goes for the commercials and all the rest of it, the commentary on Radio Le Mans sort of continues. So that's usually, it's a bit like watching the cricket, sort of. You watch it on the television, but you turn the sound down and you listen to the radio. So that's what I would recommend for the Bathurst 12 hour this
I'm
weekend.
Also fascinated to see how the new third generation Mark car, now called an IRC GT, and
yes, have you
two of
heard
them in the entry.
You heard the reason for that? I saw that today. I saw the IRC. What's the go there?
What
The
does that stand for?
I didn't read the piece actually on the name change. Just saw that it had changed.
Yeah,
so
it
I'll
might
have
be
to
interesting.
defer to you.
Yeah, it might be interesting to find out. We'll certainly ask people. But yeah, there's a couple of the new cars. They were certainly very quick at Sandown last year.
And what a lineup!
Yeah, good,
Now
good
they've got.
good driver lineup.
Uh, I noticed the team's, I guess, ostensibly second car is Nash Morris and Paul Tracy,
Yeah, that's
as
a
well
good
as
Paul.
a couple of Porsche ghosts in Daniel Studdard and Max Twig.
Yeah,
But
that's it's interesting. I mean, Paul Tracy. I know Paul, of course, like has become good mates with Paul Morris, and of course Nash is there, and of course he loves Bathurst. He has raced there before, and yeah, basically put up his hand and said, yeah, if there's a chance to drive, I'd love to come across. So that's going to be an interesting lineup, and they'll just be in their own little class. The other thing in that class is we're going to see the Australian debut of the Vortex V8. This is a French car, really, great looking thing. We've seen it in a number of the Creventic long distance races, but as I said, the first time we've seen them in Australia. And there's one going to be racing there. Hopefully, it doesn't catch fire. They do have something of a reputation of bursting into flames at the most inappropriate times, especially if it gets hot. And the forecast for Sunday is hot.
Yeah, that could be
the guy who designed the Capri.
Yeah, or the Collis, the Bicollis, or there's a few cars that have had a habit of spontaneously self-combusting.
some models of an Italian brand.
Yes, the old air-cooled Volkswagens were quite famous for it on a hot summer's day. But yeah, well, we'll certainly. That's one thing we're hoping to have a look at up at Bathurst when we go up there on Friday. As I was saying to Mark and Chris before the show, we're not sure exactly what we can and can't film. We've said all the gear is going up with Doc, but unfortunately, Doc didn't get accreditation. His accreditation was knocked back, so I'm not sure how we're going to sort of work that. I might have to just film myself, or somehow sneak Doc through. Trouble is, he's a very hard person to sneak through anywhere because he makes a lot of noise, and he's not he sort of stands out. So yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those things where we're just going to sense of purpose and basically go places and do things until we're told we can't do them. Mark?
Oh, I was just saying. I remember several years there was a photo. I found a strange photo position that nobody used because there wasn't fenced off in any way, and that was. I mean, okay, this is a couple of decades ago, but you used to be able to walk around the outside of Parc Ferme. Like there was a little on the inside of Murray's Corner, and you could walk all the way down to the fence on the inside of the corner. And yeah, I remember wandering down there quite a lot in the 1990s to get some fairly close-up shots from the inside of Murray's.
Unfortunately, they have made a lot of modifications and safety improvements to the mountain. I mean, since I was there last, I looked at some of the shots that Doc and Roy brought back from last year, and a lot of them were places that I'd filmed at the past, and they were from behind a catch fencing that wasn't there when I was there. So obviously they're continuing to improve the safety there. David is saying that already at the mountain.
Hey.
So yeah, so half your luck. We'll say hi when we get there. As I said, I'll be getting into as hopefully all goes according to plan. I'll be in tomorrow, and then we'll be out at the track on Friday, sometime early Friday morning, and then as I said, we've just got to see what we can do, because we might get up there and the Channel 7 say, no, you can't film anything. So yeah, really annoying, but and hopefully the weather is good. The forecast for the first few days is looks very humid and potentially a bit wet, but it looks like it's finding up for the weekend and Sunday, which of course is the main day. Still forecast for some showers, and the odd shower coming through wouldn't be a bad thing.
And how I'm belatedly still catching up on things like the support categories for the weekend. Of course, combined sedans will be running, and they'll have their usual eclectic and gorgeous mix of race cars.
Yeah, they've also got it's a good turnout for the mark cars because there's quite a few mark cars, including Tony Groves, the Victorian sports sedan champion from last year. He's going up there. First round of the Victorian State Series is at Sandown this weekend. So if you're not going up to Bathurst, you're here in Melbourne, you want to see some actual cars going round. Sandown is once again the site of some racing with the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship happening this weekend. But Tony is up there in his Mazda 3 mark car, and there's a couple of Mustangs up there, and I think there's about 4 or 5 of the mark cars in the combined sedans. There's also a few Corvettes of various configurations, and
awesome.
the Aston Martin, the ex-Kerry Bailey Aston Martin, because the Duggan family hotels sponsoring the race. So they've got the ex Aston Martin, the one that was actually made by
Kerry Bailey.
Yeah, it was made by Kerry Bailey, and was made by the bodywork was made by scaling up a Tamiya model. That was
Really?
literally
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was literally so probably a bit. If you have a look at it, it's there's something NQR about that Aston Martin. Speaking of which, I didn't get time to put it on, but I downloaded. I got the stuff. Aston Martin, as Alpine did. Aston Martin launched the new Formula One Challenger a couple of days ago, but they also at the same time unleashed the new GT3 Vantage, and boy does that look something. That is a great looking car, and we'll hopefully see that again. And as I said, looking forward to this weekend, but next year at Bathurst, the potential is there. Mustang, Corvette, Aston Martin, Porsche, Ferrari, because we're going to have Ferraris in the National GT Championship, and Chaz Mostert's going to be driving one of them. There's a team based out of Western Australia going to race a couple of the latest model Ferraris, and Chaz Mostert, who is also racing this weekend, he's racing in a GT4 McLaren for his own team. And so we get a couple of McLarens in GT4, and that's slowly building as well. A couple of Ginettas and a few other GT4s running. So, plenty to have a look at. But, next year potentially something else. Also coming up this weekend, and it was announced today, we're also going to see this in Adelaide at the Adelaide Festival of Motorsport, and also at Albert Park for the Grand Prix. And that's the Ford Supervan with Romain Demar driving that, at least at Bathurst. Now, this is the all-electric van that they ran up at Pikes Peak and was very, very fast. It'll be really interesting to see what sort of lap time that does because it's going to last the distance. I mean, because Pikes Peak is a lot further than Bathurst. So you imagine you'll get a couple of laps in, and it might be interesting. It might be a bit embarrassing for some of the thoroughbreds there for this, great big boxy, Ford Transit van.
Oh yeah.
Almost silently running around and running a high 1 minute 50 or something. But that's going to be interesting.
Demar's got a bit of experience in this sort of thing, if memory serves. Like he drove the what was it, the Peugeot electric thing a couple of years back. Am I misremembering?
Yeah, yes.
Anyway,
he drove the Volkswagen.
It's Volkswagen.
The IR.
I was thinking IQ, but IR. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that drove that was that did some amazing lap times at a few places. So yes, he's got a bit of experience with that. So it'll be interesting to see him driving. I'm also wondering because of supercars are the following weekend, and it's not a separate meeting because this is what they've done. They've been very clever and a bit a bit sort of cunning about this. And I'm not sure how popular it's going to be down there, but they're limited to a certain, I think it's 5 meetings a year at Bathurst, and they had the quota was full until they found out that there was no actual definition of how many days a meeting took place. So they went, well, why can't we have a meeting that lasts, that sort of, starts on Friday and then finishes up, 10, 12 days later, which is what they're doing. So in theory, the meeting doesn't finish when the checkered flag falls for the 12-hour. It's still going. They're just going to have like a really long lunch break until they
all of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some things planned. They usually on the Monday have like drive days, for sponsors and that sort of thing. I know that our mate John Hindhoff from Radio Le Mans has done a few, stayed behind a day on a couple of occasions to get a few laps around the mountain. So I would imagine that they'll be doing that. Also, supercars. I'm not sure if they're sort of creeping into the creeping in under the rug sort of thing, but there's going to be supercar laps. They're going to be doing some test laps to look at the engines, look at the aero, get some data. So there's going to be test laps from at least a couple of the supercars, Camaro and a Mustang, if not a couple of each, running around over the weekend. And also, the Group S historic sports cars. Surprised if it's not a good turnout of that. Also, Brett saying good to see Lounsey checking out his old AU and a few charges in the museum. I must go to the museum. I've been there plenty of time. I never go to the museum.
Oh, you can't go there enough.
Yeah, so I will. Hopefully, especially if we're not allowed to film much, I'll have a bit more time. Yeah, to sort of
museum tour.
Yeah, to wander around, and hopefully they'll let us. There. Dave saying 3-day drive experience in the weeks up to supercar. So 3 days which would make sense. I mean, I'm sure they'd have no shortage of people putting up their hands. Paul saying coming up this week in Melbourne as well. Avalon Speedway, the Formula 500, and the Wingless Sprints and Anchor all running at Avalon this weekend as well. So plenty of stuff down here happening as well. But I hope to get there. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Every time I've got there, I walk past the museum and go, I must go in and have a look, and just haven't had the time. So hopefully I'll get the time. Well, I'll make the time this time around. And I'm assuming we can film in there. So so the museum apparently has a good selection of Valiant and Dodge Vibers at the moment. So I'll have to do that for Stuart because Stuart. So we'll go in there and film something for Stuart. If there's plenty of Mopars there, then Stuart's going to want to see that. So we shall do that. Okay. What? Anybody else got anything to say? Brodie Kostecki did turn up at the Australian Motorsport, the Motorsport Australia Awards to accept his trophy, and gave a very considered speech and very professional. Didn't say anything, but basically apart from thank you, and I can't say much else. I mean, there's obviously an impasse between myself and my team, but I'm still very committed to supercars, and we hope we can sort this out, and we'll see you all again very soon. So, that's all. That's about all we know.
And that's there's plenty of rumours, of course. But
it seems to be it seems to be the consensus about what has happened is sort of is forming, and talking to a few people who really should know at Sandown on the weekend. You can see why the sponsors have potentially dropped off, and it's serious when this sort of thing happens. But as we say, until we hear from from both Erebus and Brodie, and as once again, because the legal aspect of it, I'm sure that part of the negotiation is some sort of NDA, as we said last week, to keep everything just to keep everything quiet and say, okay, well, you go off and do your thing, we'll do our thing, and Todd Hazelwood will, you imagine, be driving for the rest of the year. I think that that was certainly the impression everybody got at Winton last week, that Todd was basically locked in for the year.
Yeah, well, I would have thought if there was a chance that Brodie would be coming back to fill the seat of the number one Camaro, that we would have heard something by now. So there does appear to be a
the rumor around is that that there's I've heard rumors around that he could possibly turn up at some stage with if he gets out of his current contract, that there's some possibility that he could get with turn up with Premier Newlon Racing, which would be interesting. I mean, who do they move aside for Brodie? You imagine that they'd want the national champion in if they could get him. So
what rounds for the rest of the year are open to wildcard entries?
Yeah, well, that's the other option that he's got, and of course his main option is to go over to America. And speaking of which, Shane Van Gisbergen kicks off his Xfinity Series campaign this weekend at Daytona, and it's been announced that will be on Foxtel and KO. They've announced originally that wasn't scheduled to be on, but it is now. Apparently, they've done the deal. So if you want to watch, I think it's about 7:00 Sunday morning. So you can watch the start of the of the Bathurst 12-hour until the sun comes up, and then at about 7, if you want to flick across, you can have a look and see how Giz does in his Xfinity debut at Daytona. So take it from there. Yeah, and also very important. Apparently, Taylor Swift has just passed over New Caledonia, so she's not far away. But I don't know. I feel almost embarrassed to say this because it really does. I hate it when people, when baby boomers of my generation go, "Oh, I've never heard of it," but. To either, Mark, you're certainly younger than both Chris and I. Can either of you name one single Taylor Swift song?
No.
I know them, but I don't remember the names of them. I'm
apparently the biggest act sold out the MCG twice over, sold out the SCG wherever she's performing in Sydney.
I need to apologise to my niece for not thinking. Nieces for not thinking of one.
Yeah, I just thought, like in terms of us, like someone said, "Oh, Taylor Swift." Oh, yeah, I know who Taylor Swift is. Oh, what's your favourite Taylor Swift song?
Yeah, that one that she did with that movie.
One, yeah, the one that she did, and she did the dance thing and whatever. It was terrific. Loved it. Loved every second of it. I could not name a single song. I could not name a single song.
I saw some name.
David has come up with one. David called "Shake It Off." Apparently, there's a song called "Shake It Off."
Yeah, I'm silly for not thinking that one.
Well, it still hasn't triggered anything in my brain, that's for sure. But you do feel like it's proof that you're getting old. I remember talking to someone just recently, and this someone very young who just raved about this amazing new band that they I've never heard music. Oh, the incredible new band. And I said, oh. Who are they? I mean, they're called Pink Floyd. had to break the news to them.
They're not that new.
They've been around a little longer. And they go, no, since the 60s. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I think there was
That's
someone
one.
raving on the radio about Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah, he's apparently, Paul McCartney's a bit like that Craig Lowndes guy. That he's
yeah.
apparently he's done some things that were pretty good once upon a time.
I don't know whether that's a Taylor Swift song or that's just a statement from Jimmy. I am a boy at heart, Shaky. So there you go. Aren't we all boys at heart?
Well,
Don't know
yeah.
how shaky we
We
are.
love playing with race cars. Of course, we're all
Of
boys.
course, we are. Yes, we. As Melissa used to say, men get old, but they never grow up. So
True.
I think
Well,
that's.
no, as someone else once said to us that growing old is compulsory, but growing up is optional.
It's optional, yes, and it's an option I choose not to take. But anyway, so that's coming up. As I said, we had Formula One. Pretty much all the Formula One cars that have come out basically look like last year's Red Bull, as we sort of would have expected. And everybody's saying that they're expecting to do wonderful, wonderful things. Speaking of. Okay, yeah, Paul was down at 4 and 1. Build of the track is progressing nicely. Yeah, Spark Events, who I worked at, both Doc and I do some work for at the tennis, were looking for staff for both the setup of the Grand Prix and also to work at the Grand Prix just recently. So that's all rolling along very nicely at the moment. So and I think it's going to be huge. They're already talking about sort of more, even a bigger record crowd than they had last year. So
Doesn't it seem a long time ago now that people were complaining about falling crowd attendances at the Grand Prix?
yeah, so it's amazing. It's amazing that it's it's become sort of almost fashionable again. And how much of that is due to the Netflix stuff, I don't know, because if you have a look at the crowd that was there last year, we've always said that one of the problems of motorsport is male, pale, and stale, and I saw that on the weekend at the Shannon's Speed Series. I have to say the Speed Series at Sandown was really interesting, and I say really interesting in the fact that it wasn't interesting at all, because the Sunday, if you paid $30 or $35, whatever it was for that, nothing started until after 12 o'clock. There were 4 categories. The racing was fine. There was nothing in the main. There was nothing wrong with the racing. In fact, the racing was great. Congratulations. Ben Barguana was the big winner in 2CR, as Peugeot sort of dominated the weekend, but the racing was good. Formula Open was pretty good. It's a bit of a mishmash of run what you brung, but the Formula 3 cars look fantastic anywhere, and they were great to see out on the track.
And huge shout out to young Queenslander Miles Bromley, who was the star of the F3s over the weekend.
Yeah, and his car's a beautifully turned out car as well. All the cars. I took a lot of shots. I haven't sort of used it, but I haven't got around to using any of them yet. But I did manage, even though I didn't talk to anybody from Formula Open. I sort of I spoke to. We're coming up on the new series of In Pit Lane, which starts in March. Tom Oliphant from TCR. Also, hopefully, in the next week or so, when I get back from Bathurst, we have a chat with Josh Buchan, the TCR champion, as well. But even though I got the interviews with those two guys, and got a bit of B-roll, and Roy managed to get some B-roll on the track for us. I took a lot of ended up taking a lot of stuff of the Formula Open cars, because they're just a lot more interesting to take shots of, and they looked really good, and it's a good little series.
TA2's made a bit of a mess of themselves on the Trans-Ams on Sunday morning.
Didn't they ever?
Early?
Yeah, because that was a problem. I mean, the silly thing was, though, I mean, some of the races were called on the count of time, and yet there were huge slabs of absolutely nothing happening. And as I said, down the road, down at Phillip Island, sort of 90 minutes down the road at Phillip Island, the RX8 Cup was racing. They had a big field there. They're always good
awesome.
racing. They could have run those there. That would have at least filled up a bit of extra space because there was a lot of time. The interesting thing was Saturday actually wasn't a bad crowd. Saturday for what it was about as good a crowd as I've seen for a long time. But Sunday was down because one, it was very hot, but two, nothing happened until after 12. I got there fairly early, and everyone was just twiddling their thumbs, and I had a few people who sort of went, like they watched a couple of races and went, there was another break, and they went, I think I'll go home and watch the rest on television.
Oh, well, yeah. A very hot day at a racetrack can be unpleasant.
The thing is, at Sandown, you've got plenty of cover. I mean, you've got that big undercover, grandstand there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was sort of, in the, I think probably in the high 20s or low 30s, but it was, it wasn't like a scorcher. It wasn't like a 40-degree day or something. But it was certainly hot wandering around the paddock, and it was certainly very hot for the drivers out on the cars out on the track as well. But it was
I'd certainly love a racetrack I could get to on public transport.
Yeah, well, that's the other bit. That's why it was the first racetrack I ever went to, because I wanted to go out. That was, I think I've told the story before. The start of my going to see races was, like for my 11th birthday, Dad promised to take me out to Calder. We didn't have a car back then. He didn't know, but he borrowed a car from a friend for my birthday to take me out to Calder, which back in those days was about a 2-hour drive from where we lived across. This was before the Tullamarine Freeway and all the rest of it. So that was we got halfway across and the car broke down, and it was a bit of a disastrous birthday. Dad was furious, and you and your bloody will go racing car bullshit and because he had to. And about three weeks later, he said, "Look, we can't get to Calder for the drags. It's just too far away. But there is a race happening at Sandown, and we can catch a train to there." So that's what we ended up doing. We got caught the train from Dandenong out to Sandown and saw the Tasman, the 72 Tasman round, which was a great race. Frank. And as I said before, you had Frank Maddich and Graham McRae in a duel all the way to the end, a fabulous race. And then we had my memories of the improved production stroke sports sedan field was looked at. It was Frank Gardner, Alan Moffat, Bob Jane, Brian Thompson, Jim McEwen, David Robertson in his V8 Capri was there. Jim Smith in the in Camel, the Wonder Rover, that was there as well. And the thing is, with the exception of Frank Gardner and David Robertson, I have all of those people have been interview subjects on In Pit Lane. So that was, so from 11-year-old kid, we're sitting there in the grandstand watching them, and then to 40 plus years later, being able to say that, I've interviewed most of those guys. Peter Brock, of course, he was there as well. So really there. Michael's saying that he watched Shannon's on TV. The TV coverage was interesting. Speaking to Rob from Motorsport Australia, the production team had not done motorsport before. They've got lots of experience in other sports, but they had not apparently done, as a group, not done motorsport. And apparently, I didn't see it, but according to Roy and a few others, apparently it showed on the Saturday, but everyone said that it looked pretty good on the Sunday. So, that was, they're a company owned, or they were bought out by Craig Hutchison and the SEN mob. Craig Hutchison, the well-known football journalist and writer who owns SEN, he's just creating this massive sporting media empire. And now it looks like he's got television production in there as well, and that's one of the things that they're doing, and that was probably why we couldn't film, as I said, anything more than 90 seconds. So I'm not sure about what happens with the interviews, because obviously the interviews go longer than 90 seconds. I'm here's a warning, Cam's Motorsport Australia, Channel 7, just about anything. I'm putting the whole interview up, and if you've got a problem with that, let me know, and whatever, we can make fun of you on the air, whatever. if you want to promote the sport, putting those sort of restrictions on is ridiculous. But,
it's
the drone shots are there. I'm still waiting for the drone shots from the test day. For whoever did that, I'm assuming it was Supercars. Whoever did that drone at the, I'm just hanging out for that footage, because that just looking at it from the outside, looking at what that drone was doing and where it was flying and how fast it was going. Boy, I think there's going to be some fantastic footage coming out of that thing. Okay, well, I think that's there because, as I said, Fast Show is a good show, and I've got to. I've packed the car away. I've just got to make a few changes here, and basically have a shower and go to bed. Jump up the first thing tomorrow morning at about 5:30, and head out to Tulla, and then start the great journey out to Bathurst via train. So that could be a lot of fun. So I'll be documenting some of that, I think. So we might pop that up, and depending on what access we've got to the media centre, Doc's taking up his laptop, and I think it'll be okay to do some basic editing on. So we might we will try and get some stuff up. What we're allowed to, I know we won't be allowed to do any live streaming, or I'm assuming we won't. So, or if we do, it won't be from the track. Might be from a pub somewhere in Bathurst, which wouldn't surprise
Brad
me.
Schumacher's pub.
Anybody? What one does he own? Do you know?
Oh, now of course, the moment I say that, my mind goes blank.
Yeah, there's quite a few. It's a good town for pubs. Great town for food. Great town for food. As I said, I've not had a bad meal pretty much anywhere in Bathurst. So unfortunately, it is a bit pricey, and I don't have any money. So I think I'm going to be sort of on mostly on Domino's over the weekend to get by. Domino's and pot noodles from the kettle in the. I'm assuming there'll be a kettle in the hotel room. I think it's a big assumption, but anyway, we'll go with it. But and anyone, what we can sort of pick up out at the track if there's any food going around at the media centre, which nowadays there isn't. I mean, remember the good old days, Mark, when you go to a media centre and they'd feed you?
I do. I have fond memories of that. Oh, it used to get some really nice sandwiches at some of them.
Yeah, Phillip Island was always great sandwiches. There was always good food at Winton. Winton, you got proper food at there. So that was often good at Winton. You got a voucher at Calder. The best meal ever, and part of the reason it remains the best ever race meeting I've been to was the Adelaide Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series race at Adelaide, the race of 1,000 years. The food there was ridiculous. It was like literally a bain marie with casseroles and food and a barista doing coffee, and it was unbelievable. It's like, make sure you're here before 10 a.m. because we're serving hot breakfasts. And just there, I hadn't heard of this 3AW News reporting a driver injured and it helicoptered out of Phillip Island. I hadn't heard anything. Of course, they were racing. They were racing on the weekend. Supercarts were running there on the weekend. Congratulations to our mate Nick Shembry. Had basically dominated the weekend. He's in his new 250 cc kart in the top there. So he won all the races in that particular category. So congratulations to Nick.
250 international, I assume.
I think his card is a national.
Oh, national single cylinder. Okay, yeah.
It might be an international. I'm not sure, but just in memory, is that it might be a national class. But either way, they're bloody fast. They couldn't have probably run at Sandown. I remember one year they do. At Sandown.
Yeah, they do run at Sandown. It is a bit bumpy for them, but they do run there.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike. So Winton used to offer the officials rainbow cake as a regular treat. Yeah, they had that. The officials for Formula SAE. That was always good food too for Formula SAE because they had a proper breakfast, a proper lunch, and they had tea as well. So you'd go up there and you wouldn't have to pay for anything because it was a proper cooked tea. It was like, today we've got, you've got a choice of, a roast or a casserole or something. Oh, sausages and like it was something straight, but it was good, just good tucker, just straightforward, good food, and it all came with the thing. So
Reckless Brewing, just by the by, Brad Schumacher's.
that's his, right.
Yeah.
That's his, yes. So yeah, I think there's a few, because there's also some very good gin being made up at there, which I had the last time I was there. I went to Ridges, and they were sort of featuring the gin, which is actually made at a distillery inside of the track. And I had a couple of martinis as made out of the local gin, and it was very nice. It was a very nice gin. A very expensive gin. I think even back then it was about $21 for the martini. So I don't think I'll be having any of them this time around, unless, of course, somebody would like to shout me one or two or three. I'm quite happy to say yes to that. So anyway, we'll wrap that up. As I said, now next week, next week we'll be back. We'll give you all of the news that we've got from Bathurst and anything new that comes up. Just a reminder that if you're here in Melbourne, that we have it has been announced In Pit Lane will return first week of March at the later time of 9:30 p.m. on a Thursday night. So we're half an hour later. Not sure what that means, but it's half an hour later. So stay tuned for that. Also repeated Saturday afternoons at 2:30 as well. So if you miss us on the Thursday night, or if you miss us online, but remember you can always watch us online as well. And we're thinking of doing some special stuff for our Patreon supporters and people in terms of the live stream. Because we want to keep doing the live stream, but it's been a bit hard to sort of justify. But I think that if we make it sort of a special treat for our special friends, then we can do some extra things in the live stream as well. Okay, we'll see you next week, possibly back at 8:30 again. I think the 9 o'clock seems to. People turn into a pumpkin after that time. I know that it's a problem for Doc at the moment because he's got 5 a.m. starts every day, and Pete also has early starts on occasions as well. Chris, good luck with your procedures on the
Thank you.
on the weekend.
I've had cataract surgery and I bounced very quickly after that. So yeah, good luck to you, good sir.
Yeah, so got it down to a fine. I know quite a few people who have had it, and it's been very, very successful. A lot of people come out and say, "I had no idea that it was, that it was as bad," because you get used to it. I mean, when they found the one in this eye, it was like, they said, "Is this eye a bit blurry?" And I went, "No, not really." And they went, "Well, there's your cataracts forming." And it's like, oh, okay. And I didn't. And now when I noticed, now that I've been told about it, and I have a look compared with this eye, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see that now.
And one of the added benefits is sometimes if you get a bit of if you have a little bit of blood loss in the eye during the surgery, you can then creep people out for almost a week afterwards with a red iris.
With the red eye, yes, that's it. I've got to be careful apparently because one of the side effects of one of the tablets I'm on at the moment is they said, look, like the side effects are not a problem. There's this and there's a few side effects. They went, the one side effect is make sure if you're ever having an operation on your eyes for cataracts, just let them know that you're on this medication because it can cause a massive problem if you're having cataract operations. So I said that to my doctor, and he went, "Oh yeah," he said, "No, you'll have to come off if at some stage we do, decide to operate on you're gonna have to come off those other tablets for about 6 months beforehand. We're gonna have to find other solutions."
6 months.
Yeah, because apparently it can be can cause a real problem. But anyway, but yeah, good luck with it. So
All right, thank you.
we might see you next week or
I
there,
hope so.
hopefully.
Hopefully,
So
I'll see you.
yeah, well, that's the main thing, isn't it? So no, I think you'll be right. As I said, know a few people who've had the cataract surgery, and it's been very, very successful for everybody. Okay, guys, thank you. Thanks
All
to
right.
everybody for joining us once again. And as I said, I'm going to head off to bed right now and try and get some sleep. I'm not good when I've got to get up really early, and especially when I'm flying, I get very stressed, and I don't do a lot of sleeping. So
I know that well.
yeah, so I'm really hoping that I can get enough sleep to sort of but at least I suppose it'll give me something. I can suppose I can sleep on the train if because I've got bugger all else to do because I don't think from the sound of it, there's nothing else available on it. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Okay, everyone, we'll see you next week, same time here perhaps a little bit earlier, same night anyway, for Full Course Yellow. Until then, have a good Bathurst weekend, or if you're going out to
Bye.
Sandown or wherever, and we'll see you later. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Bye
Bye.
everyone.